All right. If you feel like, you can't do anything anymore, right? You can't do your homework, you can't make your bed, you can't hang out with your family. You get no joy from anything you do, right? I mean, but you were a kid one time and you thought you could do anything, right? You have the belief you could be an astronaut. You have the belief you could research a submarine and make it and go to the bottom of the ocean. But, now you're in your teens, you're 20, whatever. You're in your 20s, you're 30, whatever it is. And you feel like you can't do shit. Can't do anything. What really happened? I mean, take a look at your day. Are you waking up and you're on your phone? Or, you watching pornography? Are you gambling? Are you eating junk food? Are you, using nicotine, weed, whatever it is? Are you chasing some kind of feeling or some craving, anything? Right. So, well, if you can't tell, we're going to go over dopamine today. And it really, messes you up over time if you don't treat it well. So, just brief prelude to what dopamine is. It's not a pleasure molecule. You don't hit a vape and you get dopamine from hitting the vape. Everybody talks about, oh, I got my dopamine hit today. Oh, I need some dopamine, right? But the dopamine is the anticipation of you training your brain to anticipate a reward. So, a common example is a casino, right? And you're on a slot machine and you get the dopamine when you pull the handle because now you're anticipating a reward. You don't get the dopamine from winning because, otherwise why would you become addicted if you are always losing at the casino? But the dopamine you get is from spinning the wheel. So, what's happening, right? So at one point you have two parts of your brain. There's a wanting part and a liking part. Your wanting controls insensitive salience, which are these environmental cue directed cues, essentially. So if you're at a function and you see somebody pull out, a bomb, right? Now you're craving weed. You get the dopamine because you're craving and anticipating. The dopamine is driving you on these actions and these urges to go do this. And then, if you smoke the weed, now you feel good. You're releasing endorphins and endocannabinoids and, pleasure molecules that make you feel good, serotonin, all of these things that what are pleasure molecules, right? So, um, right now, your dopamine and your serotonin are linked, not physiologically linked, but they're linked in your head. I anticipate a reward because when I smoke, I feel good, or when I, watch pornography, I feel good, or when I gamble, I feel good, right? But after a while, you're frying your brain out, right? You spin a casino wheel and you don't feel good afterwards, or you smoke weed and you feel miserable after, or you watch pornography and you feel guilty. Whatever it is, you are decoupling your wanting from your liking, and this is frying your brain, right? I mean, what's actually happening is you're influxing so much dopamine into your brain, doing one thing you're anticipating, and your brain wants to protect itself, so it's turning these neurons inside out, and this is called desensitization, but essentially it's saying like we can't handle it anymore. You need a lot more dopamine to activate us. So this is how your threshold gets higher, right? Maybe um, if you need to gamble more, right? You need to literally just gamble more to get that same rush, or you need to, watch more violent pornography, which is like a common issue with teens these days. Is they can't get enough of what they're doing, so they have to go to these extremes, and they're so desensitized to the violence and to the pornography and to the you know, fakeness of what they're watching, and it's crippling their brain. Not even in just the dopamine threshold sense, but the way they treat people, the way they treat their significant others and their family and their friends. It all comes back to that. So you're basically Pavlov training your brain, and this goes for social media too. I mean, the biggest thing right now is 93 to 97% of teenagers are using social media daily, with teenage girls being 3 hours up and teenage boys being 2.5 hours up. I mean, that is hundreds of videos a day. And if you treat it like a slot machine, which you should, every time you scroll on a video, that's a new slot pull, right? So now you wake up in the morning and you're spinning your Instagram reels, hundreds of times, and you're spiking your dopamine levels because all you're getting is this influx that when you now go to do something real, like, make your bed or learn an instrument or play chess or do something that, read a book, whatever, start a company, start a business, day trade, whatever it is, you can't do it because you don't get that same satisfaction, that instant gratification of anticipating a reward because you do something, but the reward's not there, right? I mean, the only reason that you anticipate a reward from Instagram is these evil modified algorithms that are like, okay, whatever. You like girls with big butts and you like, um, I don't know, money videos and people with cool cars and guns and, it goes right to you. It's catered to you, right? So now if you go to like learn an instrument and you'll get no instant gratification, your brain is not going to tell you that this is a reward to anticipate. So to you, it's like, why would I do it? I'm not getting a reward. So this is the issue here, right? I mean, everybody you talk to, they're just not happy and they don't know why, right? Oh, I always hang out with my family and I'm reading books and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but they never feel good because their threshold is so out of whack that nothing is going to compare to 100 casino spins a day or, being on your phone for hours a day because that's the instant gratification. That's the dopamine influx of just doing something over and over again and, waiting. So, I mean, there's a couple things we can do. This obviously does not apply to everybody. You could look at your roommate and your family member and be like, okay, well, I'm miserable and they're not, but we both sit on social media, right? So, I mean, I had a study on my last video, but I forgot to record with audio, so it's gone. But essentially, somebody who enjoys natural pleasures and natural rewards, like hanging out with a family member or going to nature, you're less likely to overconsume these supernormal stimuli, which is the classification for these stimuli that are giving you crazy dopamine influxes, right? So, if you enjoy being in nature and you enjoy being with your family and you genuinely enjoy it, you're less likely to overconsume these supernormal stimuli. But if you don't enjoy it and you get real pleasure from, gaming and social media and drugs and pornography, then you're more likely to overconsume all of these things, junk food and anything where anticipation doesn't match the real reward, right? I mean, the anticipation of spinning a slot machine doesn't match the reward because you're not going to win. You might, right? And I mean, when you do win, you do get the endorphins and the endocannabinoids and this thing called the reward prediction model, which is when you're basically proving to yourself, like, oh, I was right. I'm going to keep going. Like, okay, I placed the blackjack and I said hit and I got perfect 21. And then now you're validating your feelings, essentially. Well, you are. And now you're like, I'm going to keep going and going and going because now you want to chase it because the dopamine is telling you this reward is here. Chase it. Go after it, right? So it's evil in your brain, right? So all this evil stuff, right? I mean, all these bad things, you should know this now. Supernormal stimuli is killing you, it's killing me. I'm not any better than you. I sit on my phone on my ass all day and I eat junk food and I'll, go get Zins or whatever whenever I feel like it. But, once again, it's subjective to the person and you have to work on it to do things that you really get gratification from. So let's get into that now. Like, how are you going to fix this? How are you going to not feel like your life is ending? There's some kind of impending doom and anxiety chasing you, and there's a depression, and you're balancing between anxiety and depression, right? So, there's real physical things you can do. There's real, drug things you can do, and there's real action things you can do, right? So, right off the bat, I mean, good sleep. You need deep sleep, which is going to be the first couple hours of your night. This is going to be like, your room is cold. You're doing no caffeine 11 hours before bed. You're getting, tyrosine, which is an amino acid found in proteins like poultry, beef, eggs, fish, all this kind of stuff. So, if you're eating this, you're getting some amino acid, and this amino acid is the precursor to dopamine. It tells, like, your body. All right, I don't know where we left at, but, I'm assuming it was with how to fix this thing, right? So tyrosine, it's a precursor to dopamine. So during deep sleep, the first couple hours of your night of real good sleep, your body is going through this lymphatic flush, and it flushes all this metabolic waste out of your brain, and it essentially makes room for more dopamine synthesis. And I guess a little backtracking here, but you're not dopamine fasting because it's a natural neurotransmitter in your brain. It's going to be produced regardless. The issue is of how much you're spiking your dopamine in response to cues. So in response to drugs and porn and gambling and gaming and Instagram and reels or whatever. But so that's that. And then physical things like getting sunlight in the morning, spiking your cortisol for short-term periods, will actually increase your dopamine production in a good way, right? So, um, but chronic stress is obviously bad. So if you're geeked all day about, being anxious, it's a negative loop there. You're going to be more anxious because you're geeked all day, and then you're going to geek all day because you're anxious. Um, and that's going to deplete your dopamine even more. So, or I guess not deplete, but kind of shut down dopamine production through an HPA response, which is like a stress response that your body does. So, a couple more things. We've got mindfulness training, which these are kind of like CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. These are kind of like toolkits that they use for um, how to reduce anxiety, because a lot of this does stem from anxiety. If you're stressing about things, you kind of want to pick an easy way out, and that easy way out is typically instant gratification, which is, you know, the, the poison apple, if you will. So, now top down training of just how to be a better person, right? So, if you look up Hozel, Holzel, on PubMed, there's a study they did, and it was an 8-week meditation program. And I'll just break it down real quick. They compared the testing group, which was meditators, to the waitlist group, who, of course, don't meditate, right? And what they found was for 8 weeks, they meditated. They did full body scans of, like, how do you feel? What is this? Blah, blah, blah. Right. And then you grade yourself based on how you feel and how, you feel compared to yesterday. And what they found was all these brain changes in the people that did meditation. And the cool thing was that, you had these brain changes despite how well you scored on your tests, right? So if you were a god awful meditator and couldn't do it at all, you still had brain changes compared to somebody who could sit there and, enter a Kundalini awakening on a different time, right? So these brain changes they found um, cerebellum changes, and they found hippocampus changes, right? So real quick, cerebellum is involved with decision making. It's going to kind of act with your amygdala, which is a stress responder. So if your cerebellum is acting with your amygdala, you're going to be able to avoid these impulsive feelings towards a supernormal stimuli. And then your hippocampus is kind of like a learning and memory consolidation thing. So, if you're treating this like an addiction, which it is with your supernormal stimuli, the hippocampus is going to help you map out the reward, because it's not the reward pathway, so I shouldn't say reward pathway, but it's going to help you map out the reward risk to ratio kind of thing. Like, okay, if I do social media for 3 hours a day, right? Your hippocampus will tell you, like, okay, after 1 hour, we've noticed that these rewards aren't bearing fruit, so we're going to stop doing this. So it's giving you this kind of top-down control to tell your body, like, this is enough. So, we got meditation. It's a big one, right? We've got the food you eat. We've got the sleep you're getting, right? Now we've got food you eat, sleep you're getting. Oh, sunlight. Sunlight's another big one. I think Andrew Huberman always talks about this. He's a neuroscientist. But the sunlight in the morning, it hits your suprachiasmatic nucleus in your eye, which inhibits melatonin production and increases cortisol in the morning, which is how you wake up. So if you ever wake up and you go for a walk and you're like, holy shit, I feel great, this is one of the reasons why. The sun is hitting your eye, you're decreasing melatonin, so you're less sleepy, you're increasing cortisol, so your stress response is increasing, and all of your, your body's kind of like in turbo mode, essentially. Another big thing is just like behavioral habits change, right? So, stacking up your small wins. If you wake up in the morning and you reach for your phone right away, I mean, it's over, right? You lost the day already. Honestly, I mean, you're programming your day to like react to hundreds of videos before you do anything. Your hypothetical threshold, because it doesn't change by the day, but your threshold's gonna be like, okay, I've watched 100 videos today and had instant gratification, and now I get nothing from doing my homework or reading a book or studying or something like that, right? So, start your day off, get up, go outside, get some sun in your eyes, and really just be mindful, right? Think about the present, nothing but the present. Don't think about the mistakes you made yesterday or the assignment you have tomorrow or going to work tomorrow. I mean, any moment that you give to the past or the future is already given to the past, right? You lost your present. I mean, if you're in the present and you're thinking about your past, you've given your present to the past now by thinking about it, right? I mean, because now your present is just worried about worrying. And if you're spending your present thinking about your future, you're giving your present to the past still because now you just spent time worrying, worrying, worrying. So, you know, practice this, go outside, count the steps you take, feel the air coming through your lungs, look at the leaves around you, lay on the floor, just look up and do nothing, worry about nothing. I mean, this is how you build non-instant gratification. Do a math problem. You have to be in a math problem to do it, right? I mean, you can't be thinking about something else while solving an integral or a derivative or something, whatever it is. Um, so these are the things. There's a couple CBT toolkits you can use, like cognitive distortions. If you're on a reel and you go to the next one and the next one, and eventually you're like, okay, just one more, right? This is called minimization, where it's like just one more won't hurt, but what's the straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing. Like, okay, when is it going to be detrimental? And it was, the second you opened your phone, right? So just to practice this, right? Next time, I'll run through it quick. Social media. You open your phone and you're drawn to Instagram. This is your dopamine. Then you are on a video. You watch the video. As you go to scroll, that's the dopamine. The scroll is the dopamine, not the video. But the video is the, you know, win or lose, whatever, the gratification, right? You're a gambler, online gambler. You go to pull the button, press the button for the slot machine, or you go to place a bet for baccarat or blackjack. That's the dopamine. You're anticipating the reward. Porn, you're scrolling through and you're like, okay, what's the porn video, right? That's the dopamine. You're anticipating which one is going to make me feel the best, right? Nicotine, you're craving. That's a little different because it's a physiological addiction, but you're still craving the act of doing a drug to anticipate a buzz, right? So this is associative learning. You're associating it. One more just to help you out. Junk food, right? You see bags of chips in the grocery store, right at eye level, right where they're supposed to be to get your attention, to trigger your dopamine, right? Avoid it. So whenever you see these things, you know, the mindfulness part comes from acknowledging it, like, okay, here is the cue I need to avoid and avoid it. That's it, right? It's hard. It's hard. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. Nobody doesn't fail. Everybody fails. But you just do it day by day by day. It'll get easier. It's always going to be easier to do it today than it is tomorrow. All right, guys. Let me know what you want me to do. This is my first video, so if it sucked, tell me why. If you liked it, tell me why. If I was too quiet, everyone's sleeping, so thanks, guys. Bye.